Dear audiences, no one is an island in life. Whether living as a religious life, in the family, or being single, each one always has to face each other in community, in working, or the interaction with others. Perhaps, how the relationship with the others is a major factor in the happiness of our life. But one thing that we find while exploring the human psychology deeply is that, the relationship between human beings is not only influenced by the events at present, upon the surface of behavior, or conduct, but also sometimes behind that by a big role of the unconsciousness. In this week's radio episode, we would like to tell you a story of a sister, who would like to remain anonymous. Although she has been consecrated life for quite a long time, the religious life has not even brought her happiness, but has rather brought her gradually into a dead-end street. And what made her suffer was nothing other than the community life. Why was her community life so pressurized, and so hard to keep on? Dear audiences, we would like to introduce to you the following story. The title of the story is, I Hate People in Love, through the voice of Lisa.
One of the qualms that hurt me in religious life was just community life. For me, community life in that past time was a terrible and a formidable torment. I have been living with many sisters from many different communities in the congregation. But after so many years, even I had tried my best to accept and live with others, I couldn't find joy, happiness, and peace in the religious life. The situation of living together with other people is getting worse. Impasse. There was no sign of any improvement and progress. Disappointed, distressed, tired, and discouraged of myself, I decided to look for a way that can help myself out of this situation. After meeting the spiritual father, I told him all the painful truth about my community life. He remained calm, and asked me, "Have you ever asked yourself, why you have much difficulty to live together with the others?" I replied, I felt difficult to live with the people in love. But I have not looked at the roots of the problem which caused my hatred. The father said, "Do you want to find the root of those difficulties?" I agreed. The father required me to remember all the incidents in my past, by the means of writing down what has happened to me recently in my life, and then back into the past and my childhood. I tried to write down every day and relentlessly. Many times, due to the pressure of the task, I made myself fight harder so that I could finish the task that the father required me to do. From time to time, I communicated with the father by text the message, especially when I felt tired, bored and wanted to give up. Each message I received from him was a direct light into my past life. Although I would like to remain anonymous, he did not hesitate to help me and did not think much about knowing who I am exactly. Encouraged, enlightened and supported by the spiritual father, I intended to get into the problem in order to find out the causes, which made me suffer, and bleed for long in the community life with other sisters in the congregation. Several months passed by. I tried to remember and to write down my childhood memory. Suddenly, one day the memory of an event reoccurred in my mind, in which I could remember quite clearly in details what had happened. That must have been a night when I was sleeping, embracing my mother, and then a hand had wakened me up and pulled me out of my mother's hands. That must have been my father. He had pushed me out of my mother, and they had had intercourse with each other. I had been pushed far away and had laid seeing that scene. I did not remember all what had happened later, but I only knew that the next morning when waking up, I had found myself lying on the ground floor, at the end of my mother's bed without anyone's attention. Seeing nothing around, I had turned myself and had got up. Remembering that moment, I personally got awakened. I found out the reason why each time seeing the others in the community loving, and regarding each other, I got angry, anxious, and looked for any means to divide them as only my hatred, when I had been pushed out of my mother by my father, and then had seen them having intercourse. Getting that into consciousness, my personality changed. That feeling could hardly to describe by any image, or words. I felt absolutely lighter, and myself flying when putting aside the overlapping and constraining distress for years. The past frustrations, sadness, and tires seemed to disappear. Immediately, I texted a message to the spiritual father and received an answer: "Congratulations. You have found out the suspect that made you anxious." After this accident, I recognize many things that I have not known so far. One of the most important things is that I have not understood, and have not known that my present life has been being influenced so much by the strong drive of the past memories. Due to this lack of knowledge, I had to accept so many difficulties in my community life for a long time, which made me time to time fall into the dark hole of hopelessness, willingness to give up and to withdraw everything. I wish that each one should not forget their roots, so that they could resolve the problems, which seem to be never, or have no chance to be solved. Since everything happens for a reason, and if someone wants to solve the problem completely, it is necessary for each of us to return to our roots, in order to resolve the problem comprehensively.